What up, athletes? Welcome back to my channel. Today I want to bring you a slice of Subryanville. This is Sheriff Street. Sheriff Street runs the length of the city from north to south up to the Botanical Gardens, and Subryanville is this triangle of property west of Sheriff Street. So it's a triangle because its boundaries are Rupert Craig Highway, Sheriff Street and David Street Kitty, coming to an end at Public Road Kitty. So on the opposite side of Sheriff Street is this neighborhood. It's called Bel Air Gardens, and Bel Air Gardens I think goes all the way to, was it Bel Air Springs and then Lilindale. But I want to show you what property has been constructed here in Subryanville. Now, during the 90s, somebody put up this large structure. I call it a monstrosity, but I guess it was mimicked from South Asian architecture. Probably somebody trying to get something looking like Taj Mahal or old Indian architecture. Depends on your taste. If you like it. Behind that is another building, newer, and we're going to try and take a look at some of these buildings. And then there are a couple of large buildings all the way over by Public Road Kitty. That's at the border of Subryanville. Somebody put up a tower here, and then there's the Russian embassy, which is also at the apex of the triangle. So let's take a look at Subryanville, at some of the properties that have been constructed in Subryanville over the last decade or so. In the beginning, meaning back in the 60s, 70s, 80s, this was a affluent neighborhood, but people didn't think of building tall buildings, and affluent people who lived here built large buildings, large houses, but they tended to be flat two-story houses like the ones we're coming up on here. And they were occupied by, captains of industry, CEOs and ministers of the government and so on. So these houses with the red roof, the brown roof and the green roof, these were the affluent houses in the 70s and the 1980s. Now somebody, I think in the last couple of years or so, has been renovating them, at least painting them again on the outside to make them, to spruce them up, make them look new. So for example, this one has been renovated on the outside, and so is the one next door. But back in the 80s and 90s, in fact 70s and the 80s, these were the houses that were prime property in Georgetown. They were, they had a view of the Atlantic Ocean. Out here is the Atlantic Ocean. And so these houses at the north end of Subryanville, north side of Subryanville, were like your oceanfront property. Right, this is the equivalent of oceanfront property in Georgetown. And from this point all the way up the coast, the houses that are located south of this highway our oceanfront property until you get to the point where the highway veers inland. But some new houses have been built in the last couple of years or so. Here is one. It's new condominium, and next to it there's an inn, a small hotel. We want to take a look at some of those houses. There's this one that's it's almost completed now. We're going to take a look at that one too. In the last year or so, that one is closer and closer to completion. So let's take a look at Subryanville.